In the IMO, I would say that have to be the lifeboat release hook issue. It's very important because on board the ship we don't like to have life-saving equipment actually killing or harming people doing drills. Not really thinking about what it actually mean in a life-threatening situation where you will have to abandon ships.
The safety improvements has actually come from more than 10 years ago and is progressing. The ISM code started to change where instead of the IMO producing legislation for ships only, that shipping companies ashore and personnel ashore were to be held responsible. It started with the ISM code, we've had the ISPS code, and now we have MLC 2006, which has changed what has to be done in the shipping industry for compliance, and therefore it doesn't just stop with the master being held responsible for everything, but actually people within shipping companies can be held to account for their actions or inactions, especially in maritime emergencies.
It's difficult to focus on one single improvement. I agree that improvements in lifeboat technology have been an absolute must. But what I think is that developing culture in the last 10 years of self-improvement. And this has been driven externally by the ISM code coming into practice and improving, voluntarily by companies adopting the ISO codes, and also internally and with companies adopting their own KPIs and performance monitors. And this is absolutely in accord with the old principle that if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And Intermanager have been at the forefront of developing a set of standard KPIs for the industry in which they will be able to measure themselves and also benchmark their performance against others. So I think as an industry, we are looking at ourselves and we want to get better.
I think for ourselves as salvers and American salvers, it would be the OPA 90 regulations actually coming into force. So they actually were a result of the OPA 90 Exxon Valdez spill, so started in 1990, and then not actually implemented for tank vessels until 2011, and then non-tank vessels here in 2014. So I think that was part of one of the largest changes that we've seen, and it's certainly been quite an improvement. Now the ship owner has a contract with a pre-existing salver, which allows us to respond on a more immediate basis, but more than anything have a proactive approach and a relationship with the ship owner directly, as opposed to just getting to know each other over the phone.
Difficult to say, but I think one of the largest safety improvements has been the advent of AIS, automatic identification systems. I think it has the potential to make a lot of information available to watchkeepers that was not available very easily in the past. The easy identification of ships and details of that ship's course and speed. Of course, it's, as with all these systems, you have to treat it with caution. There's always the potential for errors. It's only reliable if the input data to another ship's AIS system is accurate. But as long as one is aware of that, it has the potential to save a lot of time. One has to still be careful about the tendency for watchkeeping officers to use AIS and then the VHF as a means of collision avoidance rather than relying on the collision regulations. But another big area of safety improvement that is generated by AIS is the ability to identify small vessels, perhaps leisure vessels, fishing vessels, that are more difficult to detect on radar. There's no real substitute for collision avoidance using traditional methods of target detection, but on those vessels which don't easily show up on radar, the advent of AIS, the ability of small vessels to be equipped with Class B AIS, I think is a big safety improvement.
I think it's hard to pinpoint one. On one side of the coin, ship construction, notably double hulls for tankers and strict requirements for bulk carriers. And on the other side of the coin, we can't forget strides in the ISM code. You might be surprised to hear, I think, traffic separation schemes. The more schemes there are, the less collisions and groundings we have, and the less oil in the water, which has to be a good thing.
Well, there are many possible answers, but maybe I will speak for my church, the Classification Societies, and I would say that the common structural rules were indeed a significant achievement in the improvement of safety at sea by proposing and giving to the industry a unique set of rules for the construction of safer oil tankers and bulk carriers. A lot of class societies, 10 at that time, have worked together for many years to provide this set of rules, and I would recognize it is a safety improvement for the shipping industry. I would also add that for passenger ship, I also admire the safe return to port concept, which is also very important considering the size of the passenger ships today.
There are several in the last 10 years, but if I will say a couple of those, the effective implementation of SOLAS Chapter 3, Paragraph 19, that is introduce extensive training to entry space and rescue operation and requires those on board that they are designated with entry space designation to be able to enter in an enclosed space, perform rescue operation, and be in top form, because every 2 months they have to do such a drill. On another safety issue, I will say the checking of effective release mechanism for the lifeboat that is under consideration right now, where they check all the hook release mechanism and their effectiveness and reliability. And if something is not compliant after multiple testing in the presence, let's say, of classification society inspectors, etc., then they have to replace with new compliant one by January 2019.
I believe that ISM after 1998 has contributed significantly in the safety. Safety has increased. Accidents related to human behavior have decreased a lot. And also seafarers. The seafarers are well aware of what they are doing on board right now, so familiarization is in place. And shipping companies, management companies have changed their procedures, and now the whole system is operated in such a way that safety is guaranteed.
Oh, I think the biggest safety improvement was the enforcement of regulations, the monitoring of continual improvement, and forcing substandard ships to comply better than ever before.
I think that the biggest safety improvement was the significant improvement of the safety records of the tanker industry. Not only accidents have been drastically reduced, but also the oil pollution has been almost minimized.
That's a tough question. Being a lawyer, I usually see problems, but one thing that we have seen over the years is a much bigger commitment to compliance on the part of owners and a willingness to solve problems and be in compliance before they get too big. So I think that's a very positive development.